Hello again, everybody. I'm Tony Ermovick from the Department of Energy, DOE, Office of Project Management, located in Washington, D.C. I have some very brief comments today, about 5 minutes or so, and followed by my colleague as well. On to the subject for today. One of my office's specific missions is to validate our large capital asset projects, and that involves projects over $100 million in total investment costs, to ensure that there's a valid cost and schedule baseline in place. To help do that, we need good, solid, defendable benchmarks to support these cost estimates. Hence, that's where the CII Data Miner tool and the FFDAR I'll spell that out in a second, tool initiative comes into play. I'm here today also specifically give you a short perspective of DOE's involvement in this data miner, and specifically the FFDAR. What does that stand for? Everybody, I'm sure, sitting at the edge of your seats. The Federal Facility Data Analytics Research and Applications Program. There'll be a test later on if you remember that breakout of that acronym. But FFDAR really was a federal perspective, federal agency effort to look at the data mining and the benchmark development, and it's really a subset of the overall CII data miner tool. Our engagement started back in July of 2020, spearheaded by an individual named Walt Inarco from Smithsonian, really the champion of this effort. We signed up longer than a normal RT. This was a 3-year effort. So it was an involvement, and we had to pay some additional funds to support the effort all along the way. But it was 3 years, so this is the culmination. It started in July of 2020, and here we are 3 years later. Locking onto data standards, it was in the video up there, locking onto data standards is hard. All of you out there from different companies and owners, whether you're owners, contractors, you have your own databases, some similarities, but pulling that together into a single data miner tool was a little difficult because everybody spoke a little different language. But eventually, the team came together and came up with an integration toolkit that took that, forced everybody into a standard data collection template, and then we're able to actually use that and feed the data miner tool. So that was really a significant breakthrough in the effort. Overall, the development of the data miner, and specifically the FFDAR tool, was as good as I could have expected. Some challenges, but it was difficult because it was innovative, it was widespread, had a lot of stakeholders, and a significant amount of federal agencies in it. As I said earlier, our specific and planned use of the tool is to use it for benchmarking and perform project estimate validation, not estimating, but validation for our administrative and light lab facilities. Estimate benchmarking is a Government Accountability Office, GAO, we have to comply with them. Cost estimating best practice and helps defend our budget submission, our project submission budgets to Congress and the Office of Management and Budget. This probably correlates to the same for private company budget proposals to owners, project managers, senior leadership, et cetera. So the data miner tool, in closing here, is up and running. The system will take pretty much any kind of project that you have, and the CII staff and the data miner staff will be able to help you work through that as necessary. And again, I'll turn it over now to my colleague, Ms. Sholeh Lee, and fellow FFDAR team member.
As was mentioned, I'm here from the Department of State, oversees buildings operations. I work for the Office of Construction Management, but I'm representing all of OBO as many of our offices work together on this project. We direct the Worldwide Overseas Buildings Program for the U.S. government. We have a vast portfolio overseas. If you want to learn more about it, I just suggest that you Google overseas buildings operations, look up Embassy Effect. There's a great YouTube video that'll give you more about what we do. And we committed resources to this, time and dollars, and our leadership had to buy in. And why was that? Well, CII is a reputable, credible source outside of ourselves, and we need that as stewards of taxpayer dollars. Also, we need to know how are we doing, and we can measure ourselves, but having this outside source to measure us is really giving us a lot more credibility, and that was our goal. We wanted to measure against other federal facilities and other type of buildings such as hospitals, which we find that are good comparisons to the complexity of the embassies that we build. And CII and the team, which we've said thank you to already, was instrumental in helping us measure our data. I know there's a lot of organizations trying to work with data. We were trying to figure out what data we needed to measure and how to do that because we generate a lot of data. So some of the benefits, we got this visual tool, which you saw in the video, seeing whether our projects are in this targeted range and also drilling into, where are our outliers, either on the exceeding schedule and cost outliers or which ones are doing really well. Comparing against this, we're hoping to do more of this as others participate, and that's really the two-project challenge should be the beginning of the journey with this benchmarking, because once you put in two, you're going to want to put more in, but that's how all of us benefit from the data warehouse. The future is bright. The size of the data warehouse is impressive. CII, again, is dedicated to benchmarking, and I think that's just the beginning here of what we can do and how we can develop this over time. Thank you very much for your attention today.